Good evening. Wow. What a wonderful day. What a wonderful day. While we're waiting for people to come on, as usual, we're going to meditate to some music by Zazen. And I've picked a couple of songs that I want to play that I think are kind of interesting. And during this time, if you haven't noticed, we're going through a pretty interesting time in the world. And there's a lot of really interesting energy floating around. So let's take these two songs and see if we can just push all of that away and let go of this world just for a little bit. Focus on your heart, maybe your throat, your third eye, maybe even the crown if you feel so much energy, but it would be good. So let's begin with Tibetan Rhapsody. Take a breath. Relax. It's been a while. Have you noticed that this last week has been particularly strange? I know of friends of mine and students who are going through some really radical times right now. One lost her husband. Another lost a relationship. Animals are sick. There's a lot of stuff going on. And I'm connected to it all. I'm also connected to the joy and to the love. But I think I'd like to talk a little bit about how to deal with these times of distress and upheaval. The uncertainty of the future is always with us. This is nothing new. We built castles with huge walls and turrets and thin little windows where we could shoot arrows because we were anticipating a problem. If we weren't anticipating a problem, we wouldn't have built them. Humanity's been full of uncertainty. My great-grandparents came across America and they were frightened of the Indians, terribly frightened. I think the Indians were pretty frightened of them too. But it was a time of uncertainty, a time of great change. As I've mentioned several times in the last couple of years, that the world is going through a birthing process right now. And births are not easy. It's called labor for a reason. I watched both of my children, my boys, come into this world. I was there in the room. It was magical. But the hours before, the day before, as my wife was going through her labor, it was not fun. It was hard work, very hard work. And when the birth actually took place, it was extremely painful for her, very painful. It was traumatic. And then the baby came. And once the baby was put in her arms, all the pain, all the labor, all the struggle, the 9 months of going through body changes evaporated in a sea of love and beauty. We're going through a birth right now in this world. It's not easy. It's not easy at all. Trungpa Rinpoche said that we should count on the rug being pulled out from underneath us at any moment. Just count on it. It's going to happen. We live in a world of transitory existence, thank goodness. He also made an interesting statement when he said, suffering brings about enlightenment. No, I'm not a big one for suffering. Don't get me wrong there. I'm not what they call the flagellators, where they used to beat their backs with a whip, to beat off the sin. I don't believe that stuff. But I do know that when people get really comfortable, when they have the best job of their life, when the relationships are going straight, when everything is so wonderful and poetic, it's a moment of beauty and harmony, then you don't tend to make any changes, which means you don't grow. You stay right where you're at. Some people get stuck out of fear. They're afraid of any change. They may not like their current circumstance, but at least it's better than what they fear. I understand that one too. All of this is going on around us right now. People are experiencing loss, great changes. And it offers us an opportunity to think outside the box because we're forced to. We're forced to think of things that we wouldn't have considered before. A change of occupation, a change of residence, change. I was driven into enlightenment by the uncomfortable sensation of not being awakened. I had experienced awakenings throughout my life, really, but nothing consistent. And it became a point of great pain for me because at certain times I would have a breakthrough just on my own. And I couldn't make it happen again. So when I came to my teacher, everything shifted and changed because from the moment I started meditating with him to this day, when I focus on that energy, the energy that the doorway that he opened up, and I walked through it. Every time I walk through that doorway, beautiful. That's why I play Zazen music. This was his group. This was his music. And for me, it opens up a doorway. So, hey. But I'd like to talk about maybe the path of the soul. The visual I get about this is the donkey pulling the cart. And the donkey is your will and intention. But mainly it's your will. And donkeys are notoriously stubborn. They don't want to move. They don't move. So what we used to do is we'd have the stick and we'd have the carrot. And we put the carrot on a stick, on a string, and put it in front of the donkey so the donkey's always walking toward the carrot. And if the donkey took its mind off of the carrot and wasn't going anywhere, then we used the stick to beat the donkey to get it to going again. So that's kind of what our soul is doing to us. It's having us go down this path. And if we stop, it hangs a carrot in front of us. Says, hey, why don't you come here? This will be a good thing for you to do, to meditate. This will be a good thing for you to become part of a spiritual community where you have some support system. And you don't want to, so then you get the stick. And that's uncomfortable. Losing a job, relationships, health. Just go down the list of all the things. Financial ruin. I think I've had them all. Even death. We're on an eternal path. But right now, we find ourselves in this interesting time where the world is going through a massive shift in consciousness. And that shift in consciousness brings about a great deal of suffering for many, many people. Climate change is not easy. It's downright frightening, actually. With storms and droughts and hurricanes and all of these things that are happening, you kind of wonder, how are the farmers doing? You know, in the San Fernando Valley in California, not every farm has water. And I don't know how it's going in the Midwest, but I know that there's a chance, you know, we may run out of food, we run out of water. People may be moving from horrible places where their country is going under the water, or in immense social unrest. We have millions of people being driven from their homes to try to find a better life. And they're not welcomed. It's an interesting world right now. And in this world, you and I exist. in this world, we came here to do something. And we were here to save the world. And the way we save the world is we save the world inside of us. When we quit focusing on the negative, when we quit focusing and putting all of our energy on our fears and our angers and our insecurities, then we can turn our eyes to the higher self. And that's spiritual awakening. So during this time, when maybe you don't know what to do, you really do not know what to do, which direction to go, what course to take, I suggest you calm yourself down and tell yourself that this is a birthing. It's a birth, and good is going to come out of this. All we have to do is focus on the highest and the brightest. It's not easy when everything around you is falling apart. I know that one. But the more that you can do it, the more you can touch that higher self within you, the more you'll find yourself through the law of attraction and correspondence, moving into the areas of life that reflect that consciousness. It doesn't always happen instantaneously. There is a difference between realization and a little time lag into actualization. So you may feel peace within your heart and then go out in the world just going crazy. But if you keep that peace enough, pretty soon, even though the craziness is there, you'll start being the peaceful one. If you don't buy into the anger, the insecurities, the fear, you can start tuning into something higher and better. And when you tune into that, even though out here everything's going nuts on you, the more you tune into that, the more you raise your vibration to that level and you start living the karma of that higher vibration. So you can be the calm in the midst of chaos. You can be the light in a very dark room. You can be a breath of fresh air to people who are having trouble even breathing. So it's very important for you during these times to seek the highest and best, to listen to music that uplifts you, to watch things on movies and TV that cause you to want to live in that higher state of consciousness, that remind you of home. We've walked out of the mountaintop down into the dark valley of death, and now we're walking back up. Your destiny is enlightenment. And as I've said for the last few months, almost endlessly, what you focus on becomes your reality. And that reality finds you. So if you're always focusing on fear or anger or that sort of thing, then you create that reality for yourself. And not only do you create it for yourself, but you create it for everyone around you to a degree. To the degree they buy into it, you create that atmosphere. So you can either be the answer or the problem. And I suggest that it's not easy being the answer. It's not easy finding peace in the midst of chaos, but it's there. It's not easy finding joy in the midst of despair, but there is a sense of spiritual joy where even though things are going bad for people, there's a sense inside of you of the ongoingness of life, of the eternality of the soul, of the direction of your consciousness into enlightenment. Don't lose that faith. I'm here to tell you that you didn't come here to live a life of misery, You came here to live a life of overcoming and transcending and awakening to your higher nature, to the beauty that is all around you, all the time. Today was a particularly tough day, talking to friends who are having a tough time. Took my little dog for a walk, and in the middle of all of that upheaval and sadness and fear, it's beautiful blue sky, beautiful trees. Just for a moment, a little breeze came up and touched my cheek. For just a moment, I transcended. We should look for perfect moments throughout the day. A perfect moment when the sun comes through a leaf in a tree. Wow. A sunset. Wow. Holding a little puppy or a little kitten in your hand. Feel a little puppy breath. The softness of the kitten. Perfect moment. A moment when you're driving your car and a song comes on that reminds you of something beautiful from the past. It's a moment. You may in the beginning only find 3 or 4 of those perfect moments, but they're all around you all the time. And the more you tune in to finding them and acknowledging them, the more they seem to occur. They're actually occurring all of the time. Perfect moments are always there for us. They're everywhere. In Buddhism, we talk about mindfulness, being mindful of the beauty. And realizing that as bad as things get sometimes, we're all eternal. We are all made of the same stuff. We are all coming from the same consciousness, the consciousness of the divine. All of us are. And in our dream of separativity from that and from each other, we're like a bunch of bumper cars at a carnival, just bumping into everyone and everything around us. It's quite exciting and quite frustrating at the same time. Bumper cars don't go on a very long journey. They just go in a circle. But it can be fun, or it can be very frustrating. The energy is here. It's all around you. And I encourage you during those times of great upheaval, when your heart may be broken, to try to find a moment of peace, a moment of being with your plants, walking your little animal, watching a comedy, having a picnic. There are lots of things you can do. Or you can focus on all the horror that's going on. But whatever you focus on becomes your experience of reality. As you focus on the higher intentions, then vibration comes up and that becomes your reality. And you attract to you people and experiences that reflect that reality. Or you can focus on fear and anger and all of that, the lower intention, and that becomes your reality. The issue that's going on in the world today is everyone is divided. It's us against them. If they don't believe the way we believe, then we dismiss them outright. They have no value. But to the enlightened, that's just crazy. Everyone is God. Everything is God. There's nothing but God. You're made of God. Your consciousness, your intellect, your experience all come from the same source as mine. We have a dream of being separate, but we're not. How I treat you, what I think of you is how I'm treating myself. In my mind, I need to somehow make it so that everything is enlightenment. My teacher said that all of these worlds were shining in his mind. All of these worlds. It's easy to have the happy and altruistic world shine in your mind. I mean, everybody can do that. But when you can make the most despicable of us realize that they too are God, that they're made of the same stuff you are, they're not separate, they're just lost. They're taking the very same energy we're using, and they're creating a reality for themselves out of their fear and their anger, their selfishness, their aggression, and they're getting the karma of it. And you pray for them. You pray for them to awaken. You pray for their spiritual awakening, because when they awaken, they will quit doing the path of lower intention, which creates all of the suffering. All suffering comes from ignorance, which is the path of lower intention. That's what creates our problems. But you came here to be different. You came here to shine the light. In the midst of all of this, look for the perfect moment. They just happen every once in a while. I'm having a perfect moment right now. You may not hear it, but my little dog is snoring. I think that's perfect. Wake up, stand up straight, tuck in that shirt, square those shoulders. You're better than this. You came here to overcome the ignorance. You came here to be a warrior for the light, where you face everything squarely, powerfully, and that you are not defined by what other people think or say or do to you. You are beyond this world. You are God in the flesh, experiencing this interesting, sometimes beautiful world. So take heart. If you can, find a group that you can sit and meditate with on a regular basis. There are lots of wonderful teachers out there. I know of a lot of them, my friends, Turiya, Samvara, Agnikala, they just go on and on. Dharma, all of these enlightened beings around me. You do too. But if you're not awakened to enlightenment, you don't see it in others. But when you start to awaken, those perfect moments start to bind together until your day is full of perfect moments, which is an occasional glitch. So good luck during this time. Take heart. Let's be together in a beautiful Sangha. People that are awakening together, who are working through their issues together, supporting each other, and having compassion for themselves, for their friends, and for the world. Have a wonderful week. Namaste.